I sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the screen like it had personally offended me. Yet another message from my mother, her words dripping with guilt and entitlement. "Esfand, your sister deserves a chance too. You have more than enough. Can't you give her just one apartment?" I didn't even flinch. These messages had stopped surprising me a long time ago. I'd blocked her number more times than I could count, and still, she found new ways to reach me. Text apps, fake emails, social media DMs. They all carried the same demand, the same expectation, the same manipulation. But if anyone really wanted to understand why I would never say yes to her, they'd need to go back 20 years. I was 6 when my world turned inside out. I remember that night vividly, our tiny living room, the dull buzz of the overhead light, and my mother sitting across from me. She kept twisting her wedding ring, like she was trying to unscrew the guilt from her hand. "I've fallen in love with someone else," she said calmly. "Your father is moving out." I watched Dad pack his things the next morning. He folded shirts neatly, lined up his shoes like he always did, and tried not to look too long at me standing in the doorway. Meanwhile, Mom hovered nearby, checking her watch every 2 minutes, like she had somewhere better to be. Steve, her new love interest, moved in before the ink dried on the divorce papers. Just like that, everything shifted. The princess drawings I'd proudly stuck on the fridge disappeared, replaced by Steve's work calendar and grocery lists that didn't include my favorite snacks. My beloved sugary cereal? Gone. Steve only allowed healthy breakfast food. The house I knew started to feel like someone had rearranged it just enough to feel unfamiliar, like a dream you almost remember but can't quite place. Dad still sent alimony checks on time and tried to see me when he could, but he was busy building his business. Our visits became shorter, his calls less frequent, always punctuated by meetings, clients, deals. He'd still call me princess, but he looked tired every time he said it. Then came Lisa. I was 8 when my mother had her second daughter, my half-sister. I stood outside the hospital nursery, face pressed against the glass, and watched Steve and Mom cradle the newborn like she was made of gold. That moment, that was the exact second I vanished from my own life. Suddenly, every conversation revolved around Lisa. Every decision, every schedule, every ounce of energy in the house shifted toward her. "Esfand, keep your voice down. The baby's sleeping." "Esfand, go to your room. Your mother needs rest." "Esfand, do your homework later. Lisa isn't feeling well." That name became the center of our universe, and I became an afterthought. I had food, I had shelter, but I didn't have warmth, I didn't have love, and I definitely didn't have a mother in the way that mattered. My room became the only place that felt remotely mine. I'd hide away in there doing homework, reading books, or just lying on the bed staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint. Steve didn't bother hiding how he felt about me. He'd sigh loudly when I walked into a room, mutter baggage under his breath when he thought I couldn't hear, but I always heard. Some nights their conversations floated right through the thin bedroom walls. "She should be living with her father," Steve would whisper. "She doesn't belong here. She makes Lisa uncomfortable." Mom would sigh, her voice sharp. "We can't send her away. Mark's alimony is still coming in. Do you know how much Lisa's dance lessons cost? We need that money." I wasn't a daughter. I was a deposit. Every time I heard that kind of talk, something inside me hardened. It didn't even hurt after a while. It just built walls around my heart. Thick, cold, necessary walls. As I grew older, the distance between me and that household widened into a canyon. Summer vacations were the worst. They'd pack for Disney trips or beach resorts, laughing and joking while I stood with my bag by the door, waiting for Dad to pick me up. "We just can't afford another ticket," Mom would say, avoiding my eyes. "But you'll have a great time with your dad, right?" And I did, sort of. Dad was always on his phone, negotiating something, closing some deal, but he tried. He really did. We'd eat pancakes at diners, and he'd look at me with this guilty softness in his eyes. "I'm sorry, princess," he'd say, for the 100th time. "But look what I got you." The gifts came in waves. Phones, tablets, laptops. One time he gave me a MacBook with my initials engraved on it. "This is for all the missed weekends," he said, beaming. "It's perfect, Dad," I told him. And I meant it. Not because it was expensive, but because his face lit up when I smiled. That was the real gift. But every return home turned into a battlefield. Lisa would shriek the moment she saw anything new. "A MacBook? That's not fair. I want one too." She was 8 years younger and had no clue what to even do with a computer. But that didn't matter. She'd stomp her feet, scream until she turned red, and within a few days, Mom and Steve would cave. It didn't matter how impractical it was. If I had it, Lisa needed it. The iPad Pro incident was the worst. She wailed for 3 days, called me names, slammed doors. "I hate you," she yelled. "You always get better stuff." That night, I overheard Mom on the phone with Dad, her voice sharp and furious. "This has to stop, Mark. You're causing chaos in our house. If you're going to buy gifts, make it the same for both girls or don't bother." The next weekend, Dad looked more serious than I'd ever seen him. He didn't even smile when I hugged him hello. At our favorite diner over chocolate milkshakes, he broke the news. "Esfand," he said gently, "your mom called me about the gifts." My stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean—" He reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "No, sweetie, you did nothing wrong, but I've been thinking. Instead of more gadgets, I've opened a college fund for you." My eyes widened. "Really?" "Really. By the time you graduate high school, you'll be able to go wherever you want." A smile broke across my face. "But this is just between us," he added. "No one else needs to know." For the first time in years, I felt like I had something that was only mine, a future I could control, a secret piece of hope that no one could steal. The day I graduated high school should have felt like a dream, but reality came crashing in just 1 week later. We were sitting at the dinner table, the TV muted, plates half full, when Mom cleared her throat. "Esfand," she said, setting down her fork, "we need to talk." I knew what was coming. She'd been eyeing my bedroom for weeks. "Lisa's growing up," she said. "She needs more space. Your room would be perfect for her." I blinked. "I was planning to leave anyway," I said. "I'm going to college this fall." Mom's expression twisted. "College? We can't afford—" "Dad's paying," I cut in, watching her features freeze. Relief spread across Steve's face. Lisa clapped her hands. "Oh," Mom said. "That's great then." The next day, I started packing. My room, stripped of personality for so long, looked more like a hotel than a childhood home. Through the walls, I heard Steve whispering, "Finally, no more dealing with Mark's daughter, and the alimony stops too." "I was worried we'd have to keep her around longer," Mom replied. "This worked out perfectly." I should have cried, but I didn't. I felt relief. Real unfiltered relief. 2 days later, I loaded the last box into Dad's car. He had taken a full week off work, his first real vacation in years, and surprised me with plane tickets to Hawaii. "I thought we could use some time together before college starts," he said, squeezing my hand. Hawaii was like stepping into a dream I didn't know I needed. For once, Dad wasn't constantly checking his phone or rushing to meetings. His phone stayed off the entire trip. We walked barefoot along the beach, ate fish tacos from food trucks, and laughed over how terrible we were at surfing. We talked too, really talked. Not just surface-level stuff, but about life, the past, my plans, even the parts we'd both tried to ignore for years. One night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and lavender, he turned to me on the hotel balcony. "I'm sorry it took me this long," he said softly. I leaned my head on his shoulder and took a deep breath, letting the salty air wash over me. "You're here now," I whispered. "That's what matters." That trip reset something inside me. It reminded me that I wasn't broken. I wasn't unlovable. I wasn't some forgotten girl in the corner of a family photo. I was Esfand, and I had a whole life ahead of me. College felt like freedom. I moved into my dorm room that fall, armed with Dad's unwavering support and a deep hunger to prove myself. I didn't want to just coast through. I wanted to earn my place. So I got a job at the campus cafe, the daily grind. Dad called often, always offering to send more money. "Esfand, you don't need to work. You can focus on school." "I want to," I'd reply, balancing my phone between shoulder and cheek while wiping down a counter. "It feels good, Dad. I like earning something for myself." My days fell into a rhythm I quickly grew to love: morning study sessions before class, afternoon shifts making lattes, and late nights in the library. My coworkers became friends. My professors became mentors. I found a kind of peace I never knew was possible. Every holiday break, I stayed with Dad. By then, his business was booming. He'd bought a gorgeous house in a quiet suburb, nothing flashy, just elegant and warm. I had my own room, finely decorated just the way I liked. Posters on the walls, fairy lights around the mirror, soft blankets everywhere. It was my space, and no one told me what I could or couldn't do with it. He even gave me my own key. "Come whenever you want," he told me, "even if I'm not home." And I did. Sometimes I'd go there just to escape the noise of campus, or spend a weekend reading by the pool. It felt like home in a way my mother's house never had. Meanwhile, back in that other world, the one I'd left behind, life went on without me. Mom's social media was filled with Lisa. Every post was a celebration of her latest recital, her school awards, her birthday parties. I was noticeably absent from every photo. Every caption read like a carefully curated story. "Our little princess is growing up so fast." Sometimes a distant aunt or cousin would comment, "How's Esvin doing?" And Mom would reply with something generic like, "Oh, she's living her adult life now, so independent." As if I were a neighbor who moved away, not her firstborn daughter. She had no idea I was making the dean's list every semester. Didn't know I'd been promoted to shift supervisor at the cafe. Had no clue what my major was or who my friends were. To her, I was just a blank space she could fill with whatever narrative suited her. So I poured everything into school. I joined the business club, started tutoring younger students in economics, and worked on my public speaking. One professor even pulled me aside after class. "Have you considered graduate school? You've got the drive and the mind for it." I'd never even dared to think that far ahead before. But suddenly, a whole world of possibilities was opening up in front of me. Then one afternoon, I was scrolling through Instagram during a slow shift and came across a photo from Lisa's 12th birthday party. The house was decorated top to bottom with balloons and glitter. The caption read, "Happy birthday to our star. We love you more than words." Every relative was tagged, except me. I stared at it for a moment, waiting for that familiar ache in my chest. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt light, like I'd finally stopped carrying a bag of bricks on my back. I turned off my phone and got back to wiping counters. I had a life now, a real one, built on my terms. Graduation day came sooner than I expected. It was a bright, sunny morning, and as I walked across the stage, I could hear Dad cheering louder than anyone else. After the ceremony, while families gathered for photos, Dad pulled me aside. "Close your eyes and hold out your hands," he said with a grin. I did, and felt something cold and metallic drop into my palm. When I opened my eyes, I saw a set of keys in a small envelope. "What's this?" I asked, already guessing. "Your graduation gift," he said. "An apartment, in your name, fully furnished, back in your hometown, in a quiet neighborhood." Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. I threw my arms around him. "Dad, this is too much." "Nothing is too much for you," he said. "Nothing." The apartment was stunning. Clean lines, soft lighting, modern kitchen, and best of all, it was mine. A space that no one else had a claim to. I found a job at a local marketing firm and started building a simple, peaceful life. For a while, things were perfect. Then the phone call came. I was folding laundry when my phone rang. It was Dad. His voice sounded strained. "The tests came back," he said quietly. "Stage 3 pancreatic cancer." My world stopped spinning. The next 2 years blurred together. Doctor's appointments, hospital visits, second opinions, clinical trials. I watched my strong, brilliant father fade before my eyes. He fought with everything he had. We both did. But cancer doesn't care how good you are. It doesn't care how loved you are. It just takes. On a gray Tuesday morning with my hand in his, he took his final breath. He was only 54. I organized the funeral, booked the venue, wrote the eulogy, posted about it online, tagging my mother even though I knew better. Hours later, she replied, "Sorry, Lisa has a recital that day." And that was that. The will was read a few days later. I went in expecting, I don't even know what I expected, but what I got was everything. The company, the house, the apartments, the investments, and a letter. "Dear Esfand," it began. "I built all of this for you, Princess. I'm sorry I won't be there to see what you make of it, but I know it'll be something incredible. Take care of yourself first, then others if you can." I cried harder reading that letter than I had during the entire funeral. I knew I wasn't ready to run a company, not yet. So I appointed Marcus Chen, my dad's most trusted VP, as interim CEO. He knew the business inside and out, and more importantly, he respected what my father built. As for me, I found my own way to honor Dad. I created a foundation in his name, the Mark Anderson Memorial Foundation. Its mission was simple: support cancer patients and their families through financial, emotional, and logistical help. At the launch event, standing behind a podium in front of 100 people, I cleared my throat. "No one should have to fight cancer alone," I said. "And now, thanks to this foundation, no one will have to." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at Dad's photo on my bookshelf. "I hope I'm making you proud," I whispered, because somehow, through all the pain, all the grief, I was still standing. Still building, still growing. Maybe that's what he'd been preparing me for all along.